Okay, everyone. Now in part 4, we are going to take a bit of an interlude and go into a different topic, using social media to communicate your research or to communicate research in general. As mentioned in the beginning, I create videos on TikTok and Instagram, Bilibili and such to explain research findings, not only my own, but those that have been discovered by other researchers. And I have found the experience to be incredible. I really strongly encourage all students to consider it. If it's something you're interested in, there are definitely benefits. If you're not interested in this, of course, you may feel free to skip past this part, but the activity at the end will segue into the final part. So let's talk about communicating research on social media. What's the point? Why would you do this? So of course, there's a lot of benefit through having impact through education. One of the main reasons why I originally was interested in becoming a scientist and a professor is because I like to teach. And I find that, educating others, sharing information is not only extremely fun for me and satisfying, but it's a great way of giving back to the next generation. And I, really hope to be able to shape in some way that next generation with information, and get people excited about science. And of course, that can be not only done through the classroom, but through social media. So it's a great way to do that. Secondly, there's misinformation everywhere. If you have spent time on any of these apps, particularly TikTok, you will find that there's plenty of videos floating around that are just totally false. Anybody can pick up a camera, film themselves, be very confident in the way they present misinformation, and people will believe it. And this has led to a lot of people misunderstanding things, and holding these false beliefs. As a scientist who studies autism, I've had to deal with the ramifications of the Wakefield controversy in the late 90s, where the scientist published falsified data that the MMR vaccine causes autism, which is not true. But because of that, there are a lot of people who believe it. And it has, taught me that people will believe things if they're told them. So I believe that scientists and researchers and experts should get on the social media apps and discuss these commonly held misunderstandings, and sort of address them however they can. I think that we need to have a presence on social media to defend science, just in the way that anybody can go on and talk freely about whatever the heck they want to. So lastly, it's a way to help the public connect with your esoteric academic field. You might be really interested in what you're studying, of course, but not everyone is able to connect with it. There may be people out there who think it's amazing, or who would think it's amazing, but aren't able to have that interaction, have that relationship with the topic that you have. So you can be a vector for them to connect with that field of research. What's in it for you? Well, of course, there are many networking opportunities. I have made a lot of friends and colleagues through TikTok, even though it may sound silly. And these people they're great people, and they're, powerful colleagues. They help me in ways that typical academic colleagues cannot. And it's just great to have people, outside. It's difficult to network professionally outside of your institution. When you get on social media, you can meet people from all over the world. So it's a great way to network. Also a great way to build your reputation, both within your field and outside your field, depending on the platform that you use. So if you're on Twitter, let's say, that's a good way to build your reputation within your field. There are a lot of scientists on Twitter, and researchers. And if you post, let's say you publish a paper and you post it on there, people in your field will take notice of that, and they will read your paper. They might interact with you. So it's a great way to when you publish a paper, your name is there as an author, but people don't know who that person is. It's a great way to connect yourself with that research and build that reputation. Outside of your field, it's a great way to just get your name out there in general. I mean, I've found that by being on TikTok, people who should have no interest in my papers will ask me, hey, can I read your papers? Where are they? And I have them on my website. People can download them. And, you're building your reputation as a scientist and maybe, or as a researcher, and people are interested in learning about that, and what you do. So again, this is sort of connected to this point here, that it helps people connect with your field. It also helps people connect with you. Of course, it can be lucrative. There's a lot of money in social media. There are, financial incentives to post and do brand partnerships and stuff. There's travel. It can be a great way to make side income, or if you want to try to make it into a full career. But I would recommend definitely starting with side income. And I also would very much warn, do not do it for the money. When I chose to get into social media, uh, I never even really thought about why, how it could turn into income for me until a friend pointed it out to me. And I thought, oh gosh, that's a great idea. I hadn't really even considered that. Truly, it hadn't occurred to me, but it is true. There are ways to make money, but if you're doing it for the money, I think it's not as fun. I don't know. I find that it's truly enjoyable to just talk freely about science and the things I'm interested in on social media, and have people have an interest in conversing with me and learning about it. So, okay, now that you're convinced to do it, how do you start? Well, putting yourself out there can be uncomfortable and scary, but and by putting yourself out there, I mean not only going public with your name and your identity and talking about this stuff on social media, but also just like filming yourself and speaking into a camera. If you choose to make videos, it can be really awkward and weird. So you get used to it. Practice makes perfect. You can always just film a video and not post it, and just sort of mess around and experiment and just see how you feel about it. Like I mentioned in the very beginning with the American Association for the Advancement of Science, the award that I was recognized as a finalist for, your colleagues in science in your field will actually appreciate this type of work. I really thought people would disrespect it or think that it was silly, but it turns out that it's actually, regarded as something that's unique and needed by many, many people in my field. So don't worry necessarily about that component of it. I do understand. I did hide my use of social media for a long time, but once it did sort of leak out naturally that people started seeing me on social media, I was really, really surprised and thrilled with the positive response that I got. Picking a platform. When I say platform, I mean a social media platform like Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you want to do podcasts, you can get on one of the podcast apps. I recommend using what you know best. So if you like to come home at the end of the day and scroll on TikTok, or you like to go on YouTube or Twitter, you already have a sense of how the platform works and what types of posts are successful and what you like to see. And not only that, but how to use it. So key things that you should look to understand about a platform are the content. Like I said, what do you like to see on that app? On Twitter, do you like to see threads, or do you like to see single posts? Do you prefer when there's a video attached or an image? If you're on TikTok, what type of content do you think that there needs to be? What's your favorite type of thing to see? And when you see those posts on Twitter, do they use hashtags? When you see them on TikTok, do they use certain effects on the video that make it look cool? Or what do the captions look like? You just want to understand the content and the style of the platform. Of course, the audience, every platform is different. Your audience on Facebook is going to be totally different than your audience on TikTok. But again, this is why it's important to understand the platform, because if you've never heard of TikTok before, or if you've never been on TikTok before, you might think that the audience is 12-year-olds, but it's actually not the case. My audience on there is primarily between 25 and 44. And there's a lot of people on there in that age group. So understanding the demographic and understanding the demographic of the platform and understanding that your target demographic can also help you choose a platform. And lastly, the algorithm. So what performs best? This is what takes the most time to learn. This is probably something that you don't already know by just using the app. But you can, once you become aware of it, you can start to kind of pay attention, and you might notice, oh, I noticed that on Instagram, Reels, which are like 60-second clips, do really, really well. They seem to get a lot more likes. And you can, do a little analysis. Go to someone's page who posts a lot. You can check out my page if you want, and just kind of scroll and see like what's the average number of likes that I get on an Instagram Reel versus Instagram TV post, which is like 30 minutes, or a picture. So kind of understanding what the algorithm favors will help you determine how to make yourself more successful, especially on TikTok. TikTok has a notoriously confusing algorithm, but just practice makes perfect. Posting, you'll find what performs well, and there are just lots of things you can learn from just experiencing it. So you might not know what to talk about. You want to make a video, you want to put yourself out there, but you don't know what to say. I recommend just, start simple. What's your favorite topic or paper? Do something that you know well. Maybe talk about your own research. Maybe this is a great opportunity to do this. How to actually do it once you choose a topic, just like the 3-minute thesis, you want to write a script. Highly recommend a script. You can also just sort of freestyle a video and talk, but I do recommend using a script. It helps streamline things and make sure that you don't say anything that could potentially be misconstrued or misunderstood. Apologies for my dog barking over there in the background. Once you write a script, film it. Like I said, just film it. No pressure to post. Just record yourself talking to your camera, experience that awkward pain of what it feels like to do that for the first time. It does get better. It is really uncomfortable. I remember struggling with that a lot. Sometimes I still struggle with it. I like to be in privacy when I film. Definitely no one around me. I don't know how people do it. Sometimes I see people like dancing at the mall, like no chance, count me out. But it's casual. So just see how it feels to try it. It's also good to just practice using the app. If you're filming yourself on TikTok, how do the effects work? If you're on Twitter, how do you save a tweet to your drafts? All these different things to consider. And then you don't have to post it, up to you in the end. Maybe you'll find out that you like it. And if so, you will decide to post it. If you do choose to post it, maybe it's easier to start with a personal audience. You can post it to your own personal Facebook account or Instagram account, whatever it is. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I mean, it might feel awkward. It might feel weird showing this new side of yourself to people who aren't used to seeing it. But I mean, what do you have to be ashamed of? What do you have to be worried about? You are doing something fantastic. You are trying to help educate the general public about something that you're passionate about. And I think that you might be surprised. People might be like, whoa, this is amazing. I really enjoyed this. Of course, just, before you do that, make sure that you feel comfortable with what you're putting out. You don't want to do anything that's going to be weird or make yourself feel cringy. It's unavoidable to feel cringy at first, but the more exposure you get, the more you're going to be comfortable with it. And you have to realize that if you decide to start your own account, a separate account to post it, you're not going to have any followers there to begin anyways, and you're probably going to have to recruit followers from your friends and family. So it can be good to get feedback from people that you know. You might learn things about what people are interested in, what they're not. And maybe not starting with a personal audience and posting on your Facebook or whatever, but maybe you could just sort of send it around to a couple of your friends and say, hey, what do you think about this? Did this make you feel uncomfortable? Because you have to realize, and this is what I realized much later, if I'm worried about my friends and family thinking that I'm cringy, it doesn't matter in the end, because when I start posting on my science TikTok and I end up, let's say I go viral, and I grow an audience, they're going to end up seeing it anyways. And they're going to think it's cringy, whether I like it or not. So sometimes, and it's easy to avoid the cringe. You can film a video, watch yourself and say, yeah, this makes me feel cringy, or it doesn't. And ideally you want it to not make you feel cringy. So, but with all that said, I do recommend starting a separate account for your science communication or your research presentations, because it's nice to save your own personal account. For example, on Instagram, I now have my science account and I have my personal account. And when I want to see my friends and family who I know in my personal life, I go to my personal account. When I want to see other science communicators and all this, I go to my science account. So it's nice to retain that level of like ordinariness on that app, because once you start posting a lot, your feed is going to start changing, and it's going to be all related to stuff that like your research is related to, and you might find that it's nice to just be able to like sort of step back into that little oasis of the way things used to be in your personal Instagram account. So save your personal account, and then that way you can have two handles, and you can save multiple names, so that in case you ever decide to like change your account name. I did this recently. I thought about changing my account name to something else, but I wasn't sure about it. So I changed my personal account name to that handle so that I could save it if I ever wanted it. So it's just good to have multiple accounts. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of one of my videos shown here on the right. But before I actually play the video, I just want to talk about like my creation process. So first off, I always build my videos, write my scripts based off directly from the scientific peer-reviewed literature. Misinformation is a huge problem, like I said, and I want to make sure that I'm not at all contributing to that. So I only report things that are published, peer-reviewed, and I make pretty clear about like, this is the paper, here's the reference. And as far as designing the video, it's a lot like the 3-minute thesis. You want to first identify what is the most important or interesting feature to focus on. In this case, this video is about squirrel parkour, you will see. And I found that for me, I could have talked about the analyses they did and all this, but the most interesting thing, that the way I get the viewers' attention, is by showing them these videos of squirrels doing parkour, which is actually published along with the paper. So that for me was like the hook. That's how I wanted to get people interested. Whoops. Deciding how to make it interpretable, same thing. You have to translate the information. Doesn't matter if it's a 3-minute thesis or it's a TikTok video. You need to make sure that the audience understands. So you'll see how I did it in this case, but remember, this just applies broadly to my entire content creation process. Using good images and videos. You want to be captivating. Once again, in this case, I use the videos from the paper where they're showing them jumping around, but you want to use helpful, assisting images and videos, just like I talked about in the slide for the 3-minute thesis. Second lastly, you want to be relatable and respectful. You never want to be condescending. You want them to, I think people want to learn from people that they like. They don't want to learn from stuffy white coat scientists, oh, look at me, I have a PhD and I talk about science and I'm a scientist. They want you to look like a regular person. So just try to, relate to your audience and respect them, respect their understanding, and, don't be like I said before, oversimplifying can lead to this sort of perceived notion of being condescending. So be relatable and respectful. And then, okay, lastly, so TikTok's algorithm depends on viewing time. Like I was talking about, you want to make sure you understand the algorithm. In this case, I was trying to lead in with a hook. So you always want to start with some sort of hook to get them interested, and then go from there. So let's watch this video. Hopefully the audio works. I'll turn it up here.
This research paper just came out in the prestigious journal Science, and it's literally an analysis of squirrel parkour. I love science. I mean, look at this. The researchers wanted to figure out how squirrels make decisions about the leaps that they make between trees, like this right here. Look at this squirrel. Look at him swinging around. How cute. When a squirrel is making a jump between branches, it can either jump from the base of the branch, like right here, where it's much more stiff, or further out where it's a lot more flexible. So the scientists created 3 artificial branches with different levels of flexibility, also known as compliance. And they found that on the more flexible branches, like this one, the squirrel jumped from closer to the branch point, even though it had to cover a greater distance. This means that the squirrel's decision is partially influenced by the branch's flexibility. And now the moment you've been waiting for, squirrel parkour. They found that the squirrels jumped off the walls like this for longer leaps to improve the accuracy of their landing. But my favorite part of this study is that these were not lab animals. These were wild squirrels that they recruited with peanuts. Follow for more cool science.
Okay, so as you can see in that case, my lead-in was, this is an analysis of squirrel parkour, and I probably could have done that better. I think that it would have been more captivating if I started the video with the squirrels jumping around and said, this is from a published paper in one of the best journals in the world. That maybe that would have performed better. But I think, the integration of the videos, and as you could see, I showed the videos while I was explaining like the actual science. What was the research about? And in that case, it was about, the flexibility of the branch, and I was explaining how they jump from different points. So it's sort of like a Bill Nye kind of thing where like you want to do some sort of demonstration. Bill Nye would like blow something up and be like, use it as an example to explain the chemistry of the reaction that just occurred. In this case, the package that they're accepting is this cool squirrels jumping around video, but they're also learning about why squirrels do the things they do and what the science really showed. And this applies to, if I talk about biology or brain cells or whatever. Okay, let's talk about now the pros and cons of being on social media. Pro, it can be extremely satisfying and lucrative. Of course, we've already gone over this, but con, it can be very challenging and taxing. It's a lot of work. If you love it, then it'll be a lot easier. I wouldn't recommend doing it if you don't like it. Like I said, don't do it for the money. Just do it because it's satisfying to you. But it can become a bit to manage. Sometimes it can be really stressful, like keeping track of, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to be posting every day on TikTok to be successful. That's what it says online. Just make sure that you do it at your own pace. Keep yourself happy and comfortable. Pro, many need opportunities like this. How cool is this? I'm over here teaching a little workshop course at the University of Minnesota Graduate School because I happened to make a TikTok video one day and competed in the 3-minute thesis, but it's really cool. But of course, it takes a lot of time. This presentation, I'm happy to do this. I'm enjoying this a lot, but it does take time, and you have to be ready to balance that and pull that time away from the PhD research you're doing and stuff. Putting yourself out there is a little bit sketchy sometimes. It does kind of put your reputation at risk. People on social media can be really critical, which I will show in the next slide. But just, if you're seeing this right now, keep in mind, you have to be cautious. Be very careful about what you say. This is another reason why creating a script is very important. You want to make sure that you're not throwing things out there that are careless and going to get you in trouble. So while your reputation is at risk, I will say that people have a very short memory. I have been involved in controversies and things through social media where I used a certain phrasing in a video being careless, and someone made a response video saying, accusations, and it felt horrible. It felt like my world was collapsing. But it turns out that, a couple of days later, people completely forget about it. So that doesn't mean that you should be careless, but this is at least a pro for that con. Of course, you get the ability to reach a global audience, which is amazing through science communication, through being on TikTok. I actually created an organization, and it's called the Aspiring Scientists Coalition. Actually, I'm going to plug it right now. If you're interested, go check it out. But it's a group where we actually bring students together and network, and we have students from like 75 countries worldwide. So because of TikTok having that global reach, I was able to recruit students and create this great organization that just provides free guidance and mentorship to these students. So, it's a great way to just like reach the entire world. It's amazing. But with that said, you're putting yourself out there for a global audience, and the internet can be rude. People can be very mean and hurtful. I've found that the anonymity of the internet makes people mean, and I strongly encourage you to not respond to trolls and meanies, as I say here. And on this next slide, I'm going to give you an example of an experience that I had. Just because it's a learning opportunity, I want you to be aware of what type of stuff can happen. But it also displays like how the internet, how being online changes people. So this video I'm about to play was a video that I was tagged in. You'll see I'm talking for a second in the beginning, and then this other person takes over and says a whole bunch of things that are pretty mean and critical. But there's more to this story. So let's first just watch the video.
His head, went to bed, and never woke up.
Okay, my first problem is this man's using Claire de Lune in the background of this video, which is a beautiful song that doesn't deserve this negativity. Second of all, this man constantly in his other videos cherry picks neuroevidence to try to make some sort of crazy video about the brain to let the public know about how crazy the brain is, which, yes, the brain is beautiful and unique and mysterious, but he cherry picks evidence to get more views. And I think it's important that the general public is more educated on the brain and doesn't need a degree to get that. But this man is not necessarily trustworthy. He's doing it for views, and I think it's because he has a PhD and not an MD. Not that there's a problem. I'm going for PhD myself, but that means he's a researcher who's paid less than a medical doctor. And he likes the blue check mark. Anyone who goes into neuro is a narcissist. The brain loves the brain. He's doing it for the views. It's not.
Bob Saget's autopsy.
Okay, so clearly it sort of just like derails towards the end there, where it starts off as a criticism of the cherry picking, and then it's an attack on me being a PhD and being a narcissist. And this stuff happens pretty often. There's a lot of love as well. And, this doesn't happen all the time, but once in a while, something like this happens where someone just decides to take a shot at me and attack me. Okay, so normally I wouldn't leave a comment, but in this case, I said, whatever, I'll just leave a funny comment. And then this is what happened next. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be mean. I think you're credible. I understand things need to be dumbed down. I wish you luck with your career. I didn't mean to be insulting. I didn't think you would see this. I was just being critical. And then this person also messaged me on Instagram, same stuff. And this is a good person. The fact that she felt so bad that she went out of her way to, write out these messages. And I am absolutely not showing you this to expose this person. Please, if you are somehow able to figure out who this is, please do not attack them or anything. I do not wish that on them at all. This was to show you that even good people on social media will do atrocious things just because they are anonymous. And then as soon as I became real, as soon as she got some impression that I was a real human being and I commented, everything changed. And immediately she was friendly and accepting and welcoming. So, and apologetic. So just keep it in mind, you really don't know what's going to happen on the internet. Some people will just be mean for pretty much no reason, even if they're not bad people. But with that said, there is a ton of positivity as well. It's not all bad. These are just some comments that I received recently that I wanted to share. I mean, just really, really nice and kind and loving, and very, very supportive. So I don't want to give the impression that everything that happens on the internet is terrible and insulting. It can be very pleasant as well, but you need to be aware that the criticism can happen and people can come for you for silly things. But if that does happen, be ready to steel yourself against it, not take it too personally, and just don't respond. Okay, now, so activity 3, what I really would like you to do is to write a TikTok video script. And I know you may not want to do that. You may not really be interested in creating a video on TikTok. That's not really what I'm asking you to do. You don't actually have to film it or post it or anything. What I want you to do is use your notes that you have so far from the first few parts of this workshop and just draft up quickly. It doesn't have to be super, super thorough, a 60-second or so video script describing your research. If you want to, you can use bullet points if it's more comfortable, but just try to identify what are the key points, how would you lay out the beginning based on everything I just said. And I promise this will be helpful. So take some time, make a quick video script, and keep in mind all the stuff that I talked about. You want to lead in with something interesting. You want to find out the appropriate way to frame it. You want to draw out the key important points, and you want to make sure that they're getting the sense of what you're talking about without using too much jargon. So maybe use an analogy in there. And I will see you in the next part where we will go over this.